and welcome to our second season. That's right, second season of the RedLaughRiot Podcast. My name's Matt.
And I'm Ben. And if you can't already tell, we've had a bit of an upgrade this season. Not only are our voices crispier, but we're now sitting in the same room, which means that we're going to have like way better rapport, you know what I mean, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's not going to have so many, hopefully, technical difficulties that we always had when we were doing it on Discord.
Yeah. Speaking of difficulties,
We still suck at doing intros, though.
It turns out that Matt can't read. You see, Tash was who's like our behind the scenes guy, was basically doing a countdown to the intro, but I didn't realize he meant the intro music, not the intro. But we're just gonna keep going.
So
we keep
right.
going ahead. We'll just keep going.
Yeah.
It will be all good, right, Tash?
Who knows?
Yeah, he says haha, so that's fine. Yeah, so we as you guys all know, like Ben said, we had a little bit of a break. We've come back for a new season, a fresh start, where we've come back with mics, which is very exciting, and I feel very professional right now. Also, Ben and I are in the same room, which is fantastic because it means I can see his face, and it'll be brilliant when I start cracking really bad jokes, because then he actually has to like pretend to think they're good when they're not. And it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, so I think that's enough of a rambly intro.
Basically, what you've learned is that we're going to sound a lot better, a little more professional, but we still can't do an intro.
Yeah, our intros are still gonna suck,
and probably the segues aren't going to be that good either.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
quality.
let's segue into the first segment of the show, which is called Reading the Headlines. And this is where we go to the top of Reddit. We just have a look at what's trending right now. We read some headlines, and we talk about them. And here we go. First headline of the day. Okay, here's a good one. In the anime, Ash Ketchum. So this is talking about in the anime Pokemon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so Ash Ketchum, the main character, was supposed to be a huge Pokemon fan before he left on his journey. But every time he sees any kind of Pokemon, he has to pull out his Pokedex because he doesn't know what it is. And so this is just a guy on Shower Thoughts saying Ash Ketchum was just a poser before he left on his journey. It's not even a headline. It's just a shower thought. But I thought it was interesting. I actually saw this earlier today about how the whole point of Pokemon, especially if you play the games, is that you're finding all these new Pokemon, right? And so you're discovering these things.
Yeah.
And then in the TV show when they did it, they just pretend that Ash had the same point of view as the character as you would have playing the game. But in at least like the first episode, Ash is shown to be like this massive Pokemon fan. But then literally every single encounter he has with a Pokemon, he's like, "What's that? I've never seen that before. Hey Pokedex, tell me what that is." There's no instance of him finding a Pokemon that I don't well, okay, I'm probably wrong. Maybe it does happen and I just don't know about it. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting shower thought. It's not really that significant, though. There's not really much to talk about.
The thing with that is, I mean, the thing that I sort of gather from that is more from the whole, like, I love reading, like, whether it be shower thoughts, like, posts from Reddit, or shower thoughts posts from, like, Tumblr or whatever, even though Tumblr's trash, but that's beside the point. Tumblr's weird, because, like, okay, so I don't actually physically have a Tumblr, but I look at stuff from Tumblr that's been posted on like Instagram or something. It was just like comment threads and stuff, and like
I know what you mean.
if you imagine that if you like dig your way through like the porn side of Tumblr, which was shut down recently, but that's beside the point. And you shovel also through the like SJW sort of part of Tumblr, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do get to a little bit of gold there occasionally, but like it's buried under a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
As is the other site that reminds me of that is Wattpad. Have you been on Wattpad?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so Wattpad's like this site where it's like basically just a bunch of people like post stories to it and stuff, like like novels and books and that they've like written themselves.
Okay.
Problem with it is you find a lot of fan fiction.
Yeah. I
on
can
there.
imagine.
The worst is so fanfic. So this is what annoys me a lot about Wattpad, right? Is because they have like, you know, you can like divvy it up into what subject your thing is, right? And one of the subjects that you can make it is fan fiction, right? But some of the people who write fan fiction don't put it under fan fiction, right? So I'm trying to look for like a half decent story, right? And I start reading it, and then halfway in, I realize that it's a bloody fan fiction. And usually I'm like, because firstly they're like, because usually fan fictions are like poorly written, right? So like, the number one thing is that I'm first like, this is really bad. Why am I still reading this? And then I spot like a name or something I recognize, usually like someone from One Direction or something, and I'm like, God damn it! I was reading a fan fiction again.
It's like getting rickrolled, but it's like, hey, it's a fan fiction.
Yeah. So that's.
I don't know where you were going with that point.
I don't know where I was going with it at all. But, shower thoughts are cool. It's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, moving on. The next headline is actually a headline, and this is from Politics.
Oh, Matt's favorite subject.
Trump touts border wall in San Antonio, which has no wall and isn't on the border.
What?
I need more information.
The whole border wall thing just triggers me.
It sounds like this sounds like a headline from The Onion.
Yeah. I remember I was watching a video and it was saying stuff about like a bunch of Onion articles that came true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was really funny, like reading them and then watching like all these stories and stuff come true. One was something about Stephen King like not remembering one of his books, and then he came out like a couple of years later saying like that he couldn't remember writing one of his books, but like the one in the article was not the one in real life, but still he forgot writing one of his books just completely. I don't know how or why, but
for those of you who don't know what The Onion is, it's basically a satire website that posts these articles that like are just like these outrageous things, but sometimes they trick people into thinking like they're actually real news.
I think
I think the only time I got by an Onion thing was like something about like the Black Friday sales like causing mass panic and like people were like getting violent in the shopping stores.
Yeah.
But apparently they post that article every single year.
Oh, really?
And like they still get people who like believe it.
Yeah.
And there's one of my favorite subreddits is r/not the Onion, which is headlines that sound like they're from The Onion.
Yeah.
They're actually real.
Yeah.
It's quite hilarious.
I was just about to say that I think the funny thing with The Onion is it went from being a like complete satire sort of site, and then now in like the era of like fake news and all that, it's almost like that the lines between what's real and what's fake is so blurred to the point that it's like you can barely recognize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I think that's where like stuff like fact checking and stuff like that becomes really important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you read something, don't take it as gospel.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because there was a whole thing that I saw the other day saying that the generation that's like the worst at doing that was baby boomers.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely, I agree.
And it was, and it sort of made me laugh about that because, like, I don't know about you, but whenever I, like, read something on the internet, I almost always fact-check it. Yeah. Especially if it's, like, a celebrity's died or something, because the amount of times it's been, like, celebrity death hoax. And I'm just like, you sure this person's dead? And then I...
You know what's funny? I remember, when was it recently? We were talking about how Steven Hillenburg had died, and we were talking about SpongeBob SquarePants. I remember I said on the podcast... that the show was cancelled after 9 seasons or something. Turns out that wasn't true at all. I remember it was like 2 years ago. There was like a post on Facebook. It was like the SpongeBob like wallpaper and saying, we regret to inform you that SpongeBob has finally been cancelled. Or whatever. It looked like this official announcement from Nickelodeon. Apparently it was this massive hoax.
Oh, really?
It was spread around Facebook. I saw it and I obviously believed it at the time. And since then, however many years ago, I've believed that SpongeBob was cancelled. But actually, it's still going. It's like 11 seasons now or something. So
that's insane.
There's that.
That's insane. Yeah.
I actually, firstly, I wanted to point out how funny it is that both the headlines we've just read, we've just gone on a complete unrelated tangent.
Yeah.
Talking about some website.
I think that's the best. That's what this podcast
is.
That's the point, man.
this is going even further on a tangent. But,
Do it.
Talking about Onion and Not the Onion, I actually came up with a game recently that, well, I thought you could play it as a drinking game.
Yeah.
But it's basically, I call it Onion on Nonion. And it's where I've got this multi-Reddit where I've got a feed from Not the Onion and The Onion on Reddit. And I would read a headline, and you tell me whether you think it's real or fake, whether it's from The Onion or Not the Onion.
Oh, I love it.
Do you want to play? We'll just go through like 5 headlines, just real quick.
Okay, cool.
First one, Ruth Bader Ginsburg to make cameo appearance in Lego Movie 2. Do you even know who that is? Oh, you do know who that is?
Right.
It's
It's a Supreme Court justice.
Ah.
I want to say it's got to be fake. The Onion?
This is not The Onion. So it's real.
What? No! Wow.
I don't know.
Why? It's like...
That's the second comment on the post. Why?
Why?
From the article. Oh, okay, here we go.
I'm going to do really bad on this, I feel.
Here we go. From the article, Ginsburg will not be voicing the character, but gave her approval for her likeness to appear.
Okay.
So it's not really a cameo necessarily. It's her likeness.
Her likeness being used.
Her character is going to be in the movie. Okay, next. New study finds staring out from the balcony with best friends, strongest indicator that this your city, your time. That doesn't make sense. What do you think?
I'm going to say that's The Onion.
That is The Onion.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I got a point, guy.
Okay.
I got a point.
I'm hiding it so I can't even see where it's from now. The saga continues. J.K. Rowling has revealed that every now and then the sorting hat would arbitrarily sort a kid onto the New York Mets.
What?
Well, I'm going to guess that's The Onion.
That's got to be The Onion.
I would have heard about this if this is real. It's The Onion.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, one more.
2 points.
Film character moves into beautiful Brooklyn brownstone after getting dream publishing job.
So what was the first part
It
of
says
that? A
film
film character.
Well, if it's from a film, then if anything could happen, so it's probably true.
You know what? I'm gonna say it's not The Onion.
No, okay, it is The Onion.
Oh,
Maybe.
right.
Well, judging from these, the headlines that don't make sense are the ones that are from The Onion.
Yeah.
So anyway,
There you go.
I think that's all for reading the headlines for today.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our next segment, which is a little bit different. Now, do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, if I can remember what.
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you telling me you haven't made a list still?
Yeah.
Do you want me to introduce it?
No, it's all good. I got distracted.
Oh,
but
geez.
that's okay. What we'll do is you can go first, and then
Oh.
I'll take your lead. All right. So, as you guys know, here at RedLaughRiot, in the dumpster fire that is this podcast, we occasionally make top 5 lists, right?
Occasionally isn't every week.
Yeah.
Wait,
Every week we make a top 5 list. That's
podcast.
semi or not at all really inspired by a film called High Fidelity, where they make their own top 5 lists. And I keep introducing it as High Fidelity, but it's not even High Fidelity.
He just really wants people to watch that movie.
It's a really good film.
I think it's all it is.
Okay, go watch it if you haven't watched it.
It's good.
It's good. It's a pretty good film.
It's good. That's good.
It's good.
That's yeah.
I mean, it's
It
not
was fun.
like it's not a brilliant film, right?
Oh.
But I don't think I when I talked about it, I wasn't.
No.
I don't think I was like,
Yeah, no.
it's an amazing film. I was like, no, it's pretty good.
No, it is good.
It's pretty good.
All right.
So
So
we'll
what is
make
that?
top 5.
What are we doing for top 5 this week?
Yes, and this week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our top 5 things we did during our break.
So basically, this is kind of a giant version of the What You're Doing segment, which we usually do at the end of the podcast. But we decided we've done so much in the holidays, obviously. We may as well just fill you in with a biggeroni top 5 EO list EO. I don't know why I added the EO to the end of all of those. So number 5 for me is not like a movie or anything. It's actually an album from Wolfpack. I mentioned Wolfpack in our top 5 musicians or bands podcast. Which episode was that? Was it episode 3 or 4? Somewhere around
like
there.
that.
Anyway,
Go watch it if you
we'll
haven't
listen to
already.
it. Yeah.
Listen to it.
Yeah. Anyway, so they released a new album called Hill Climber, and it was just so much fun, and I just love it. And I was playing it because I was working in town at the time for a couple of weeks, and I was playing it. I'd just play the whole album when usually I'd listen to a podcast on the way there, and then once that was finished, I'd play the album, and I'd play the album all the way back home as well.
Yeah.
because it's just so fantastic. It's great. If you're a fan of Wolfpack, I reckon.
What
you'll be a
genre
huge fan.
are they?
I don't even know how to describe it. It's like
Yeah.
funky, kind of weird. It's a little, you might call it weird. I don't know what genre. It's like funky.
Like alternative funk?
Alternative funk? Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like alternative rock.
It's the kind of thing that like I've never heard elsewhere.
Yeah.
Really. It's so out there.
So just, yes. That's interesting.
But-
That's so cool.
Yeah. If you're already a fan of Wolfpack and you didn't hear about this album, go listen to it now. Well,
Yeah.
after you've listened to the podcast, obviously.
Yeah, after you listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
go have a listen.
Are you ready with
Yeah.
your top 5? Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
While while you're there, while you're listening to that, you should give a cheeky little song called MJ by Now a listen as well, which is a little track I found during the
Oh,
break.
really? This is your number 5?
Yeah, this is my number 5
Nice.
because I'm just winging it.
Oh,
Winging it. That's
winging
the
it. Oof.
yeah.
do you even
no,
not? Do you not even know what your other ones on the list
Nope.
are?
Nope.
Oh, this is fun. This is lots of fun.
Yeah. So no, but this song is really good. And I really like it. It's really hard to explain. It's just got like this gentle like vibe to it in terms of with the beat,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's also really interesting because the song's called MJ, and so it has a bunch of like Michael Jackson
Oh,
references.
Michael Jackson. Honestly, when I heard MJ, I just thought of Mary Jane.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Spider-Man. Because people actually call her MJ. No one calls Michael Jackson MJ.
Yeah.
No one calls Michael Jordan MJ. But I don't know.
Yeah. I
was
mean,
the
the thing that came to mind when you said Mary Jane there wasn't the
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man character.
What did you think of? Oh, I
Marijuana.
see. Oh, yeah, of course. True.
My mind went, oh, marijuana, and then I was like, nope, that's not a person.
But if you want to hear more about marijuana, go listen to one of the episodes from season 1
Yeah.
where we talk about that at length.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so this song's really cool. Just has a like, I don't know, it's just one of those songs. I've sort of started getting into like music that's more just chill music that you can sort of put on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And just listen to it. And I think that's something that's really like underrated in music rather than like singing along to stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've sort of started finding like singing along to songs, especially if you can't sing. Well, technically everyone can sing, but if you can't sing well, I should say, just like be quiet and just listen to the music.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I feel like not enough people do that.
I agree, because like the music industry, especially, just like saturated with pop music, you know, songs that are made to be catchy, made for people to enjoy singing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what everyone listens to, and then they sing along to it. But if you kind of explore other music, or even if you explore music from the artists that you already like, you'll find new music that's just more chill that you can just listen to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because like most of the songs on the radio are like the most singable ones, I guess. But then you go into the rest of their album and they'll have more chill stuff or more deep stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, explore new music, guys. Don't just listen to the radio or the top 40 on Spotify or whatever it is. Like, because otherwise, like, I mean, I guess some people maybe, you know, aren't as into music or that kind of thing. But I think it's really important to like have your own taste and discover your own, what you like, you know what I mean?
I think also to explore sort of different time periods of music.
Yes.
And whether that be going back in time to, say, the 60s, listening to some stuff from then.
As opposed to going into the future and finding music from 10 years from now to listen to now, obviously.
Not what I meant, but that's fine. Yeah, or if you're someone like me who sort of more listens to older stuff, to start listening to some stuff that's new and coming out.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really easy for people to go, oh, music these days is really bad, blah, blah, blah. But every decade has bad music. Like, there's no such thing as, like, one decade being bad or good.
Yeah. We just forgotten about the old stuff that's bad.
Yeah.
Because you just forget.
Because the stuff that's good is the stuff that stands out.
Yeah.
And, well, I don't know, I think it's because I used to be, like, a huge music purist. Like, I was very much rock music and that was about it.
Right.
But now I've just started to, like, listen to, like, whatever I want. Just listen to whatever you want, you know?
All right. Yeah,
It's all
good. All right then, my number 4 favorite thing that I did in the holidays was I tried VR. I actually tried it once before, really briefly, And the only game I think I tried in VR was called Space Pirate Trainer, which is it's quite a basic but really fun. Where you like dodge lasers and shoot these robot things in the sky, which is really fun. But the game that I played, well, I also played Space Pirate Trainer, but then the other game that I played that was really fun was called Super Hot. I'd heard about this because you can get it on Steam, you can get it on desktop as well. But I was like, if I'm gonna play this game, I want to play it in VR because it's basically this game where when you move, the world moves, but if you stop moving, then everything else stops, and so you kind of just have to, you get weapons and you shoot the enemies and stuff like that. But it's all you got to be like calculated about all your movements and everything, and it's quite tense. It's just really really fun. And basically, so how I did this is I went to this place called VR Junkies, which is a VR arcade essentially, which is in town.
Yeah.
It's just off. It's like on K Road.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it if you're in Auckland. Just go in there. I think it's like $30 for an hour or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. And like after you've gone once, they give you this little loyalty card, so you can get double playtime or extra playtime every time you come back. Basically, it's really fun. And I think that's personally, I think that's where like the future of arcade gaming will go, because I know a lot of people say VR is not the future because it's not accessible for people, because it's hard for people to buy, not only afford to buy VR, but then have it set up in a room. We need quite a lot of space. But what they've done here with this arcade kind of setup, there's like these little spaces where everyone can get their own little headset on.
Yeah.
You just hire it out.
Yeah.
They have heaps of games on there you can choose from.
That's
and you just
clever.
go crazy. And yeah, I think it's really clever. I think that people should be doing that. If you want to try VR, go do it. It's quite addictive.
Yeah.
I found I ended up going like 3 times while I was working in town.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 4.
So in a similar vein to my number 5, my number 4 is actually a subreddit that a mate of mine introduced me to.
I didn't even know you were on Reddit, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Reddit.
And so it's called I think it's called Listen to This from memory.
Oh yes, I know.
Yeah, and so it's basically just like a giant subreddit where a bunch of people will post like music and just be like, yo, it's bit of hip hop from 2015 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just all these different genres. And so from listening to that, I've listened to some like stuff that I'd never really listened to. Yeah, and it's just really interesting. So if you're like interested in listening to like new music or more underground stuff, like less mainstream stuff. Yeah, go check out Listen to This on Reddit. It's a really dope subreddit. It was really interesting. Like when my mate told me about it, because I was just like, oh, that sounds cool, and then went to it, and then just started listening to some stuff.
Cool.
And then get back into it actually, because there was some good tracks there. So yeah, back to you.
My number 3 favorite thing from the holidays. This time it's a movie called Green Book.
I need to see that.
Yeah, you might have heard about this. It's had some buzz recently. I think it was nominated at the Golden Globes, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it won some stuff.
Did it win Best Comedy? Or was it? I can't remember. Who cares about Golden Globes anyway? But
I care.
as in like, I don't care who they think is the best comedy or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to put a spotlight on these movies, but I don't think you should like hold that as gospel. It's like, oh, that's the best one.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
I mean they get stuff wrong.
Yeah,
all the
well,
time.
not necessarily wrong, but like questionable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so it's a comedy, and it's actually really funny. Because recently I feel like comedies, like, I don't know,
Have it been good?
yeah. Well, I've heard people saying like they think the comedy genre is dying, but then you heard some comedies this year, Crazy Rich Asians, which I haven't seen, but a lot of people say that's
Yeah,
great.
I've seen it.
Yeah. It was funny because I went to see a movie called Instant Family, which I'd seen the trailers pop up for when I was watching other movies, and the trailer was really funny because it looked like a really funny comedy.
Yeah.
I was like, actually, that looks like it could be quite good. So I went and saw it, and literally the only funny parts were the parts that were in the trailer. So
yeah,
I didn't
really
laugh,
common.
I don't think, the whole movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad movie. It was kind of just not a comedy when I was expecting comedy, and that's why I was disappointed. But then I went and saw Green Book, and I was like, that's a comedy, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people wouldn't expect it because it's a film that tackles issues in terms of racial prejudice and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which most people assume it'll just be like another movie, like, I don't know, there's a bunch of movies like that, that kind of cover those topics. but tackling it in the way it does with the comedy and still a story that's really compelling and interesting. I think, yeah, it's officially one of my all-time favorite comedies. We haven't really done top 5 comedies, have we? I mean, I probably wouldn't have many. I feel like most of the movies I watch aren't comedies.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what I put on my list.
High Fidelity, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Green Book. I think I actually saw like an advanced screening in January. So officially, it might not come out till the end of this month in New Zealand. That is. Find out when it's coming out and where it is wherever you are. Go see it. It's really great. It deserves as much box office as it can get. You know what I'm saying? The smaller movies, especially the really good ones, like they deserve it. So you should go check them out. Go support them.
Yeah. All right. So my number 3 pick is in a similar vein to yours, Ben, is instead of just talking about one film, I'm just gonna very, very quickly talk about a whole bunch because I made a giant ass list of films that I wanted to watch. But don't worry, I'm rapid fire.
Okay.
Rapid fire, right? It's gonna be a lightning round. You ready?
Yep.
All right. So these are all the films that I watched. All right. Ready?
So ready.
Crazy Rich Asians, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, 8th Grade, A Star Is Born, Spirited Away, Rear Window, Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Prisoners, Fantastic Beasts 2, Rafifi, The Royal Tenenbaums, Isle of Dogs, Funny Games, and Bicycle Thieves.
Wow, that's a lot of movies.
So that was like 18 films that I watched.
I thought I watched a lot of movies in the holidays, but that is way more than I watched.
I made a list of like 38 films that I wanted to watch, and I only saw 18 of them because I just started doing other stuff, and after going away in like early Jan, I came back and I didn't really watch anything. And so out of all those films, there's some like really good ones. There's some absolute standouts. Prisoners is amazing.
Yeah.
I
think I've talked about that before, haven't I?
Yeah, it's such a good film.
Yeah.
I was like, like it's so dark and just gritty, but it's not a film that I would recommend if you want to feel good after you watch it. You know what I mean? Like you feel bad and you feel, and like it's hard to explain, but like, does that sort of make any sense?
Yeah.
There's
plenty of movies like that which are really good that I would say I enjoy because I enjoy good movies, but they're not feel good. They don't have to be feel good.
It's definitely not a feel good
one that
film.
stands out from what you listed out, 8th Grade. I actually saw that a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
That stands out to me, and that's not a feel good movie.
Yeah.
Until I guess the end kind of feels a little bit puffy at the end, you know what I'm saying? But like it's for the most part it's like this awkward kind of teen, really like real look into what I think is the absurdity, like this absurd teenage culture, which I don't even know it was as absurd as it is. I kind of knew it was kind of weird, but like, that's some weird, wow, like this, if that's like an accurate portrayal, which I'm kind of assuming it is, then that's exactly what we need. That's the exact type of movie we need. Yeah. Because people need to see that movie and like understand, especially like parents should be seeing that movie because I guess a lot of parents are probably really oblivious to the things teenagers are doing. So I think it's a really important movie, and another one that I would recommend that you go see. Yeah, it's really fantastic. Yeah,
8th Grade was interesting because it was deemed a comedy, and I didn't
wasn't
really,
a comedy though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know
why they called it that. Yeah.
But I
had no problem with it not being a comedy because it was. I didn't actually expect it to be.
I mean that was my problem. I went in expecting it.
Did you expect more like Age of 17 type thing? Have you seen that?
I've seen it. Yeah.
No,
well, because my problem is I'm a pretty big fan of Bo Burnham, who's the director of it. Yeah. Who's sort of known as being a musical comedian. So I was sort of expecting that sort of stuff to come across, but it didn't. And I think with it, the type of comedy it would be like that awkward, the very like awkward cringe comedy.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Which I felt like didn't really work, but that's not to say I wouldn't say it was a bad film, but I think it's because I went into the film with very high expectations that sort of made me go,
I kind of, because I don't really know Bo Burnham, so I wasn't expecting anything outrageously funny at all. Yeah. Unlike with Instant Family where I expected it to be funny because the trailer was so funny. I didn't watch the trailer for 8th Grade or anything. I think I heard Chris Stuckman talk about it in his top 10 movies video. I think that's where I heard about it from. Yeah. And he talked about it, I can't remember what he said other than that it's a great drama, because really it's a drama.
Yeah.
From teenage point of view. So one thing I want to point out, the soundtrack. I really love the soundtrack. It's like fun and oftentimes really contrasting to like what's happening in a scene, and I just love the way they use that soundtrack in there. Anyway, I've kind of hopped onto your number 3 one. I'm sorry.
2.
I'm up to number 2 now.
Yeah.
So I saw some more. I also saw some more movies. So I watched the Grand Budapest Hotel. That's my number 2.
Oh yes.
Because I saw it was on iTunes for like 99-cent rental. So I was like, may as well watch it. I've never watched a Wes Anderson film before.
Yeah.
So I was like, this will be fun. And it just instantly, again, has hit my top 5, my top favorite comedies now.
Yeah.
I love that movie through and through. It was great, and I was like, wow, I need to go watch some more Wes Anderson films. So I saw Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
I really loved that. And then I also, a few nights later, watched Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't like it as much. I thought it was still good, but it was funny because I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law, because we, not arguing, but they're debating, or she was saying how like she thinks Mr. Fox is a much better movie, or it's way more funny or whatever. I found personally, because Isle of Dogs is really quite slow paced. I think that's what she didn't like about it. She thought it was too simple and slow, I guess. I loved that about it. I loved that it was just slow and I could just enjoy it, and I think the writing was just really enjoyable, and I just loved it. Like I just enjoyed it. You know what I mean? And I could just sit there for a couple of hours and just enjoy a movie like the whole way through. And the fact that I was enjoying myself the whole way through and not getting bored, at least I wasn't, shows that it's a great movie, I think. And it was really, really beautiful, obviously, in the animation as well. Fantastic Mr. Fox was way more fast-paced, which was fun. It was a lot of fun. But I just felt... my biggest gripe was that I just didn't like the main character, how he never suffered any consequences for his actions, realistically. That was my biggest gripe, I guess. So because of that, I didn't really enjoy it as much. It just felt like this guy just does a bunch of crazy things, and that's kind of what it just get like snowballs, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's really funny. That's all it is, and there's no real weight or anything there. So there, that's more. I've talked more about those 2 films than I did about Grand Budapest, but I guess that's in whole. Those Wes Anderson films are my top 2, but Budapest Hotel was my favorite, so that's why I named that one.
Is that the only Wes Anderson films you've seen?
It is now.
Grand Budapest.
Yeah, those 3.
Fantastic movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox
and Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs.
Yeah,
okay.
So because on iTunes there was like a bundle on sale, so it got those 3 movies plus. I'm gonna say it wrong. Darjeeling Limited or something, whatever. I forgot how to say it. How to pronounce it? I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna figure out how to pronounce this word right now. I know it starts as.
Yeah. While you do that.
Darjeeling Limited. Is the other one that was in the bundle. So I'll watch that at some point as well.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, because the Wes Anderson films that I've seen the Grand Budapest Hotel, which I thought was amazing, and to be honest, that's probably my favorite Wes Anderson film that I've seen. And then I've also seen The Royal Tenenbaums, which is another Wes Anderson film, and then the other one was Isle of Dogs.
All right. Oh, so you haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Yeah, I haven't seen Fantastic
It's still fun.
Mr.
It's still worth watching, definitely.
Yeah. I do want to... I will probably see it at some point. Once however, at the moment, I have a very long list of films that I want to get through. Yeah. All right, on to my number 2. So something that Ben's not much of a fan of, but Matt is a very big fan of, is award season.
Oh, here we go.
And so one of the things that I liked to keep an eye on was obviously the Golden Globes. So I was sort of like, here's the thing, right? I don't watch them anymore because 3 hours to listen to, nothing much happen. The awards ceremonies themselves are very, very boring, right?
Right.
But having said that, I do like to A, to try and predict what will win, B, what I think will A, what I think will win, B, what I want to win, and then C, what actually wins.
Yeah.
And then see if there's any crossover whatsoever. And I did find that there was a lot of crossover, so it was really interesting to see, like, yeah, just to have a look at like what was winning and stuff.
Yeah.
And also in the lead up to the Oscars and stuff as well, obviously.
Yeah, I don't hate awards season.
Yeah.
I just think people put too much
emphasis on on the winners and that.
And like you see, like Event Cinemas, I think was posting like pictures of all the winners or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of, I don't even know why, because they're not even in theaters anymore. So what are they even advertising? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they'll post the winners on Facebook, right? And then everyone's like, oh, so that's the best movie. I should go see that movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, whereas that's not what the award shows should be seen as. They shouldn't be seen as finding a winner. It should be seen as putting a bit of a spotlight on movies that you might not have seen. So most of the time, especially with the Oscars, the films that are like nominees for Best Picture are kind of films that general audiences probably haven't even heard about.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And so that's why I've liked just paying attention to the Oscars, but not like putting any stock into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily I put that much stock into it. I just find it interesting to predict and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I know, I just find it a fun time to sort of like, I think also the debate that surrounds the Oscars in terms of like, not necessarily what quote unquote should win, but like, you know, like sort of having those arguments of like, this film should win Best Picture. I mean, at the end of the day, it's meaningless, right? Like whether a film wins or not, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's just an award.
Exactly.
But I think it's very interesting, though. I don't know. I just find it interesting, and yeah, I find it interesting in terms of like what wins, what doesn't win, and just trying to predict that and sort of playing that game. Maybe that's because of my, you know, interests and like gambling and that,
right?
as well, that I sort of like to predict stuff or try and predict stuff as best as I can.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where it sort of comes from. I don't know.
Well, speaking of award season, I guess I'm just go through my honorable mentions now. Two of which are films that are contending for awards. So first one, Roma, which I mentioned in back in season 1 that I was going to go see, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. I didn't know going into this movie 3 things. I didn't know that it was produced by Netflix.
Yeah.
So at the start, there was a Netflix logo. I was like, wait, you're telling me I could have waited a week and seen it for free? Oh, well, I went and supported it anyway, so I saw it in the theater. Second thing, I didn't know it was all in black and white.
Yeah.
And third thing, I didn't know it was all in Spanish. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, it was still great. I would say I found it to be a good movie. I think a lot of other people like it a lot more than I do. I have to say I was quite tired at the time.
Yeah.
And during the first 2/3 of it, I was falling asleep, like nearly falling asleep, because there's just not much happening.
Yeah.
But in the end, it really paid itself off because it built up these characters. Just you spending time with these characters is kind of all it needed for to have the payoff that it needed later on in the film, which I felt really worked. So that's why I enjoyed that. And the other one I saw was Vice, which I feel like you would love because you're so into politics. So it's about it's about Dick Cheney, who was Bush's vice president.
Yep.
And it's a satire kind of comedy in the same style as The Big Short. So directed again by Adam McKay. And I loved it. Because I thought it was really good because I guess I didn't know anything about Dick Cheney at all, or I don't know much about American politics at all.
Yeah.
But I still found it to be really informative. Not only was it funny, there was so much drama in it as well. Like it wasn't even like a funny drama or a dramatic comedy. It was literally like going between the two.
Yeah.
Back and forth. It would be some moments it felt like drama, some moments it felt completely satire comedy. So yeah, it's really well done in that respect. And also I actually there was an emotional response I had, even though I knew nothing about him before this.
Yeah.
I felt something after this. You know.
Have you seen The Big Short or not?
Yeah, I've seen The Big Short.
You've seen The Big Short?
Yeah.
What did you think of The Big Short?
I found that to be really entertaining.
Yeah.
I feel like I still didn't understand what was happening, even though they tried to make it as easy to understand as possible.
Yeah.
But it was just an entertaining, and I guess it's just, amazing to think that you can make an entertaining movie about that
About
subject
the financial
matter.
crisis.
Yeah. Like, and it's not like a drama. Like, it's a funny comedy about financial crisis. So yeah.
Yeah. I love The Big Short. I love it so much. I've seen it like twice. I saw it in theaters. Which is very rare for me to actually see a movie in theaters, and I'm so glad I did, because, like, I think it's really important. We've mentioned it before on the podcast, but I'll say it again. It's so important to support artists and art that you think is good and, like, important, like, so whatever that may be, whether it's, you really enjoy action films or female-led, films, like, go support those films, because that's how studios...
And by support, we mean pay to see them.
Yeah. Because then the studios see that,
and
then they're more likely to make more.
Absolutely. Yeah, speaking of, I actually, for the first time ever, I made a New Year's resolution this year, and that was to see more movies in theaters. I said I wanted to see 30 movies in theaters this year.
13.
30.
30.
Yeah, 30.
Wow.
Because last year I saw 15 in theaters, which is still more than I've ever seen in a year before. But I'm like, nah, I'm going to double it, because I felt like I only really picked it up near the end of last year when I saw more movies in theaters. But I was like, I reckon I can do way more than that.
Yeah.
Today is the 20th of January, and I've already seen 7. So,
mate.
two of those, or one of those being Vice. Actually, one of those being Vice, and Roma I actually saw back in December.
Okay.
And another one that I saw was Glass. Now, I don't know if you heard about the Glass trilogy.
Yeah,
I know much about it.
I haven't seen Split, and I still need to see Split.
Right.
And I want to see Glass after I see Split.
This is a trilogy from M. Night Shyamalan. I don't want to say his name wrong, but everyone says Shyamalan, so Shyamalan. It's spelt Shyamalan, but everyone seems to say Shyamalan. Anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. M. Night. Whatever.
I'm sure he doesn't mind. He's got millions of dollars. Exactly. I don't think he minds.
Yeah, well, he financed the movie himself completely.
Yeah.
And I think like the studio's paying it off after the fact, I think, is how it's working. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
So the Glass trilogy is 3 films. Unbreakable, which came out in 2000. Split, which came out in 2015. And now Glass. Split was kind of... The ending of Split was a surprise that kind of was just a scene which showed you that it connected to Unbreakable, which surprised everyone. And so, I hadn't seen any of these movies.
Yeah.
And so I watched Unbreakable and Split on one night, and then a couple of nights later I went to see Glass in theaters. And actually, I think they were all really good movies, and the way it, I don't know really what to say about it, to be honest. I just want to say that I did see it, because this is my honorable mentions. I shouldn't be talking about this so much. Okay, I just want to say I saw it. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep going. I saw Bumblebee. I enjoyed that. I saw How to Train Your Dragon 3. I enjoyed that. I thought it was good. I thought that one was the most well-made of the 3 films, but not better than the first one. Still better than the second one. Most well-made as in, there was a lot of cool emotional storytelling, visual storytelling in that movie, which is really cool. I saw Game Night, which came out in April or something last year. That was a lot of fun.
I saw that recently.
And I also saw Casablanca. Casablanca. I think Casablanca's how you say it.
Casablanca.
Yeah.
What did you think of Casablanca?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
It's one of those classic
And I was
films,
like, wait, hold on, is this made in 46 or something?
Yeah.
Jeez, considering that, it was really enjoyable and really a good movie, The other thing that bugged me is that I didn't know it at the time, but because the movie is natively in something like 4:3 kind of square-ish ratio, when I was watching it on my Apple TV, because I was just streaming it from iTunes, it zoomed itself in on full screen. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know how to change it because that had never happened to me before.
Yeah.
Turns out you actually just double tap on the remote and it zooms out. But I was just confused because I didn't know how to change it. It was really nice. So I watched the whole movie like that, and then I didn't find out until the next day that you could so easily change it. And that bugged me because there were a couple really important scenes where something happened just out of frame, just below, or you see like a hand just there cut off screen, obviously my hand motions aren't really getting through the microphone, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That was all I had. That was just an annoyance. But there's nothing wrong with the movie. It was just me not knowing that thing that happened. Anyway, I was going to say, speaking of movies, another thing that I've been doing is reviewing movies. So there's a website / app called Letterboxd, which, have you heard of Letterboxd?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've added you on Letterboxd or not.
I think you have.
I'm pretty sure I have, but I haven't seen you reviewing anything. I've only seen you posting stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to...
Right.
I've transferred some of it
over
to Letterboxd, but not everything.
Yeah. So Letterboxd is an app where you go through the movies, you can rate them and review them and all that. It's really great for like collecting like a knowledge of all the movies you've seen and what are your favorite movies and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And last year I'd been reviewing a couple movies, just like movies where I thought I had something to say, I would review them. But then this year, every movie I watched, I have reviewed. And hopefully I'll keep that up. Except Split, I kind of did a bit of a joke review. It wasn't really a review. But yeah, it was. I just wanted to plug that actually. So because I'm just trying to write more reviews and get better at reviewing. I'm finding just by doing more reviews, I'm just getting better at kind of figuring out what I should be saying.
Yeah. And
I've repeated myself a bit in this podcast, some of the things I've said in the reviews. So you can go check me out. I'm The Real Close on Letterboxd. You can plug yourself, Matt, if you're on.
I can't remember
what
my username.
Anyway, yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, go check me out on Letterboxd. Do it. Because I've been keeping track of every movie that I've seen, and I'm gonna like rank the ones that I've seen this year and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I also like on New Year's when I did that thing, I made a watch list of all the movies I want to see this year. So I've got all those plus the ones I've already seen, most of which aren't even on that list. So I'll probably end up with more than 30 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
If my wallet allows.
Yeah, if your wallet agrees with you.
Okay, my honorable mentions have been going on for way too long. I'm so sorry. But I had to mention this thing. I promised them that I would say this. So I went to Intex, which is the new theatre in Christchurch, the new theatre complex. Which this is where I saw How to Train Your Dragon. Then their new Dolby Atmos theatre, which it wasn't my first Atmos experience. My first Atmos experience was seeing Mortal Engines, which sounded really great. I think that had a particularly great soundtrack. Whereas How to Train Your Dragon, I wasn't as central. I was a bit too high up, I think, in the theater. So I didn't what I'm trying to say is it didn't sound anything spectacularly amazing. You know what I mean? Like I think Atmos is in the subtle details. I'm rambling for too long about stuff that most people don't understand anyway. Dolby Atmos is just like it's like surround sound, but 360 degrees. Like instead of just like 5 channels or 7 channels, which you'd normally have in a setup, it's like programmable, like in 3D space. It's really cool technology, and I think most movies don't really fully utilize it. But anyway, there's a new theater there. The theater was great. It was really nice. It was huge. But I had to mention, there was this dumpling place downstairs, because there's all these food places. Most of them are these real weird food places that you'd never eat from. But there's one place that does dumplings, and I think they were possibly, the best dumplings I've ever had. They were, like, great on the inside. They didn't have too much, and they didn't just, like, the contents didn't just fall out like some dumplings. They weren't sloppy or oily, and they were crunchy.
Yeah.
Most pan-fried dumplings, like, a little bit of crunch on, like, one side, but these ones actually, like, crunched right around the outside, at least on 2 of those sides. Really good dumplings. Go get the dumplings from Intex if you live in Christchurch. Speaking of Christchurch, because this is where I went down on my holiday because my family lives there. To get around, I used Lime for the first time, and I used it quite a few times. It was actually a lot of fun. I've never used it in Auckland because in Auckland it's all in Central, whereas in Christchurch, like in Auckland, I can't get a Lime on the North Shore basically unless I'm in like Takapuna maybe. But in Christchurch, you can get a Lime basically anywhere in the city because there's no like harbour bridge separating us from the mainland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it was a lot of fun, and it's just way better in Christchurch, I think, liming because from town I can lime to my house.
Yeah. And
from my house I can walk for 5 or 10 minutes to find a lime.
Yeah.
And then lime to the mall or to town.
Yeah.
Because Christchurch, not just because it's smaller, but because it's flatter.
Yeah.
So like limes are just everywhere. Like everyone jokes about limes being everywhere in Auckland. They're not. They're only everywhere in town.
Yeah.
They're not everywhere in the city though. The whole city. So I appreciated that about Christchurch. And then real quickly, I'm sorry. the first episodes after a long break. It's always going to be longer, I guess. So I watched season 3 of F is for Family. I enjoyed it. It was about the same level of quality as the second season, I found. And I started binging the US edition of The Office, finally. So that's been fun. I'm up to partway through season 2 now.
Okay.
Really enjoying that. I bought tickets for John Mayer, who announced a tour coming in March. So he's coming at the end of March. I'm going to see Arctic Monkeys at the start of March, and then John Mayer at the end of March. It's going to be lots of fun. And the last thing...
Wait. You're seeing the Arctic Monkeys?
Yeah. I told you about this. I mentioned this many episodes ago. In season 1, I actually said this.
So jealous.
Have you forgotten that I said that?
Do you
Yeah.
have a spare ticket?
Yeah. What'd you say?
Do you have a spare ticket?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't.
Oh, I want to go.
Anyway, but yeah, also John Mayer, who I think, yeah, he was my number 1 favorite musician on when we did that podcast.
Yeah.
Probably still is my number 1. And the last thing on my list that I had to mention that I did in the holidays, I took quote unquote single-use plastic bags to Countdown and I reused them.
Hey.
Take that, Countdown. Take that, the government who's enforcing this banning quote unquote single-use plastic bags in New Zealand by 2020 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't.
we have discussed this before, so
Yeah.
you can go back to one of the. There's an episode where we talked about this.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense because
doesn't
it's
make
like, yo,
any
you
sense.
can. The term that annoys me is single use. That's just
Yeah.
the term that annoys me.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if they didn't say single use, if they were just like, hey, we're banning plastic bags, I'd be like, more for it. But like, the fact that they just say single use just makes it more annoying.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not only that, but also the fact that the fabric bags that they sell are actually, the production of those bags anyway, I think, is worse for the environment than the production of plastic bags. So,
I mean, also the fact that they get rid of the plastic bags, but they don't get rid of the plastic like packaging of everything.
yeah, we discussed
So
that.
they're just using all this plastic, still using all this plastic. It's like,
Yeah.
nice job, you only fixed like part of the problem.
we discussed this at length.
At length
In a different
in a different episode. So
podcast.
if you wanna hear us talk about that, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, all the social medias.
Yeah.
Go check us out. Also, just to quickly plug Patreon. If you want to support us in a similar vein to supporting artists by supporting artists with money, you can support us with money if you want as well through Patreon, where we have a bunch of reward tiers as well there. So go check us out on Patreon and pledge money to us, please.
Solid plug. All right. Lay us down with your honourable mentions.
My honourable mentions is going to be much quicker than your honourable mentions.
Hopefully. I apologise again.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
First honourable mention is poker,
Oh, yeah.
as usual, with Matt.
Classic.
So I watched a poker tournament. It was the PCAs, so the PokerStars Caribbean Adventure. And so I watched that. I watched what was called the Players Championship. So it was the biggest 25k buy-in event in poker's history. There was like 1,000 people. It lasted 5 days, and it was insane. I watched it. Really enjoyed it. Didn't actually watch the high roller or the main event, but I'll probably watch those later on. And then my final one, my second and final honorable mention is the fact that I caught up with a bunch of mates, which was also lovely to catch up with those guys from high school and that,
Lovely.
who I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah. All right. Which leads us to number 1 time. And Matt, I'm going to force you to go number 1 this time because you're supposed to go first.
Yep.
You've ruined the flow. Give us your number 1.
So my number 1 is that I went to Clark's Beach over New Year's.
To what? Say it again.
Clark's Beach.
What's that?
It's a beach.
Oh, Clark's
Clark's
Beach. I thought you said
Beach.
Clark Speech.
No.
Is that some event where people give speeches or something?
People give speeches. I think I do need that over the fact that I can't speak half the time.
Right.
But it's okay because, as people know, those that are part Irish or Irish have a speech impediment. Have you heard that joke? It's basically just that the Irish accent is a speech impediment.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
No,
So
I probably have heard that.
I was trying to make that joke, but
not really funny.
it didn't really work, and it just
Oh,
crashed
so
and burned. if that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I went to Clark's Beach, with a friend of mine, who Ben knows from Celsius, which was the film school that we went to.
A film school, by the way, is a school where you learn things about film. It sounded like you were just explaining everything as I thought I'd just explain.
Yeah.
If you don't know what a film is, why even listening to this podcast?
Yeah. So I went to up to Clark's Beach, played a lot of poker, met some really cool people. And had a really good time. Oh, wait, one quick thing about Clark's Beach that was amazing. Okay, so the water, Ben, glowed in the dark.
The water.
Yeah, the water glowed in the dark because it had, those plankton thingamabobbies that glow in the dark.
Wow.
Right, so therefore the water what's the past tense of
glowed?
Glowed in the dark.
Yeah.
I was trying to say like glue in the dark. It glue in the dark.
Yeah.
So it glowed in the dark and it was really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's your number one.
Yeah. So
all right.
My number one, Clark's Beach.
Time for my
cool.
number one. It's another movie. It's called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't heard about it, it's a animated movie from Sony Animation. Same people that did the Emoji movie and Sing. You might have heard about those movies. Don't think about those movies.
Just about to say.
Nothing like those movies. This movie was fantastic. It's like, imagine like the Avengers, but instead of there being a bunch of different Avengers, they're all different versions of Spider-Man. So it's just hilarious comedy kind of animation movie. I'd say like it's not like a kids movie. It's like at least like 10 plus, at least. Like I'd say there's like a lot of mature themes in it.
Yeah.
Really entertaining, really great story, and the animation is beyond beautiful. I need to go see it again. I was probably not in theaters. Oh no, probably is still in theaters. Because I think officially it came out on 1st of January here in New Zealand, but I saw it in advance screening in December. It's the most immersive theater experience I've ever had, because the animation and the art style is just there's so many things in it that just immerse you in it, and it feels like a comic book. It feels like you're reading a comic book. I need to see it. It's on my list. Absolutely fantastic. There's so many things to praise about that movie, but I don't want to. There's no point in me saying too much. You just go see the movie, or see it when it comes out online, or Blu-ray or whatever. Go see it. It's fantastic. And here we go. This is a big call. But I'm officially now amending my top 5 movie list.
Yeah. This
is now my number 5. So, Fundamentals of Caring. I love you. You inspire me. But you're not better than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is my now number 5 favorite movie of all time. Not only that, it's the best Spider-Man movie of all time, in my opinion. I think it's one of the best comic book movies of all time.
Yeah.
Very high up there. Like, if not the best, probably like second best.
Yeah.
And without doubt, it's my favorite movie of 2018. The best movie of 2018, I think. So there you go.
Hey, Ben, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
Best film of 2018.
I think so, yeah.
All right, here's a question.
I haven't seen every movie, but I've seen plenty.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the worst film of 2018 then?
Well, I don't have a single worst film.
Yeah.
I just have kind of a blob of films that actually 2 of them I haven't even seen.
Yeah.
So I wrote just a few. And I actually just mentioned it before, Mortal Engines.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it?
No, but I've heard
so
bad things.
I was quite excited for this movie. I guess going into it because I guess it's produced by Peter Jackson, co-written by Peter Jackson and his team that wrote The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And Christian Rivers is directing it, and he did like all the storyboarding for Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So like I went into it expecting, I guess, like, obviously it's his directorial debut, so obviously he's new to it as well. Expecting, like, this visual masterpiece, you know? And that's exactly what it was. It was a visual masterpiece. So on that front, beautiful.
Yeah.
Where I found it lacked...
forget a plot?
No, it wasn't. Well, it was the script in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think where it comes down to is I don't know what's going on. My theory is because I guess I thought, how could this happen when these guys adapted The Lord of the Rings and made some of the best movies of all time, and then this screenplay was just cheesy and overdramatic dialogue and way too quickly paced. Like it should have been like a 10-episode Netflix series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was all just like this really fast moving movie that just happened too quickly. You didn't have any time to get to know the characters or have any attachment to them or have any. There was no emotional payoff for me during scenes which were clearly designed to be the emotional payoff scenes. There was nothing for that, nothing like that for me. I hardly knew the characters, and yeah, the dialogue just drove me insane.
Yeah.
And I had similar feelings about the Hobbit movies. About some of the dialogue in the Hobbit, especially, feels real cheesy. But I kind of gave them a pass for that because that production was so rushed, and they were doing rewrites as they were filming. You know, because Warner Brothers rushed them heaps for that. So I didn't really blame them for that. And now that they've had a proper production schedule and they've still turned out a product like this, it really disappoints me, and it makes me think that maybe Lord of the Rings was. I don't want to say a fluke, but maybe it was just because they had such great. A source material which was so detailed, because Mortal Engine is like a young adult novel, so I assume at least that similar thing with what The Hobbit, they wrote most of the dialogue themselves. Most of it wouldn't have come out of it, but when you watch Lord of the Rings, especially if you read the books, I read most of the books. I kind of gave up I only read them when I was like 10 and I gave up. But almost all the dialogue comes straight from the book, so they don't have that point of failure.
Yeah.
Because the source material just gives it straight to them.
Like,
what I have to praise them for in Lord of the Rings was the restructuring of things and certain characters that they changed or added in and stuff. They adapted that as brilliantly as possible, I think. So, yeah, they did an amazing job with that. And that's why I guess this was such a huge disappointment for me. It sounded great. It looked amazing. It just didn't...
It was
good.
just a mess.
It wasn't even a mess. It just wasn't good. I mean, it was just like, like the script was all down to the script, really, for me. Yeah, which is really unfortunate. And then, did you have like a number one worst thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what was it? Hit us.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Because I have a lot to say about this film.
Okay.
All right. Sarah Burgess is a loser.
You've talked about this.
It was
though.
the worst film. I don't care. It was the worst film of the. Ben, it was so bad. Okay, it literally the plot of it in terms of so if you have a protagonist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Protagonist is supposed to be likable in some aspect. Would you agree with that factor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
for the most part.
For most movies, yeah.
For 90.
They either have to be really likable or really you must hate them.
Yeah.
For example, Dick Cheney in Vice.
Yeah.
Or Michael Scott in The Office.
Yeah.
There are movies like that where I think if the characters portray it so well that you actually hate them, that shows that it's a good movie. I think, or at least at least the portrayal was good.
Yeah.
But again, depends on the movie. I guess.
Feel like with this film,
they were trying to make you like the
character. Because it's like typical rom-com, sort of like teen rom-com, right?
Yeah.
Basically. Where, and literally into okay, we have catfishing, right? For a start. Catfishing, I don't know about you, Ben. Catfishing, I would say, I'd put that in the not cool category, right? Stuff you can do to someone, I'd say catfishing someone, not cool. Not a nice thing to do. As is kissing someone without their consent, or thinking that they're kissing someone else, but they're not kissing the person that they think they're kissing. That's pretty fucked up, right? Especially, I think a really good way to see if something's fucked up, right, is if you twist it. So if you look at it, if you took that situation, right, and instead of it happening to the guy, it happening to a girl, how much outrage would there be, right? Over it. And I think the answer would be a lot, right? A hell of a lot more than with it being against, with a guy, male victim as opposed to a female victim. So I think that's always a really good way to check to see how bad something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have catfishing. We have just like this character, right, who's like complaining that no one loves her and stuff, right, because she's fat and stuff. It's like, no, people don't like you because you're a terrible person, all right? Not because you're fat and ugly. It's because you're a terrible person, all right? Your personality's ugly. In fact, it's more ugly than your face. In fact, you're not even that ugly. You're fine, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're...
I'm actually just laughing because you said, like, I think you said those exact words when you talked about this in season 1.
So Sarah Burgess is a loser. Terrible film. The worst film of the year.
Wow.
Easy.
Do you have some more that you can rattle off?
Of bad films?
Yeah. Or did you have other, like... Because I had a clump. I also had the second Fantastic Beasts. No good.
Yeah.
Johnny English 3. Yeah. No good. Disappointing. I've talked about those films in season 1, so you can go back. What I don't think I talked about, or maybe I have. I can't remember. Arrested Development season 5. That came out last year. Well, okay, half of the season came out last year. Not only was it kind of average and a disappointment, but the second half of the season was meant to come out in like late 2018, and it never came out. Apparently there were some allegations in regards to one of the cast members, and so I haven't really looked into that or know anything about it, but apparently that's maybe why it's been delayed, if it's coming out at all. I think if it even comes out, it's never going past season 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. And also, 2 films I haven't seen, Solo and Holmes and Watson.
I've heard bad things about Holmes and Watson.
I've heard, well, actually, the funny thing about Solo I wanted to talk about briefly was that I knew it was going to be like a complete box office fail because there's no reason anyone should want to see that movie, even if it was a good movie. And apparently people say it's not even a bad movie, it's just kind of average. But there's no reason for anyone to want to see that movie just because it's got Han Solo in it. Like, that's not enough because you could tell even in the trailer, like, there's nothing to care about because maybe you've got Han Solo, but no one's met this version of Han Solo played by a different character, so no one actually cares. If it was a movie with Harrison Ford, it would have done way better. But obviously he doesn't want to be in another movie. That's why they killed him off in episode 7. So, it was funny because I actually, early in, I think term 1, back at school, I was talking to one of our tutors, our camera department tutor, and we were talking about the movie, and he like swore. He's like, "Oh, Solo, we'll make $1 billion at the box office easily." I was like, "Oh no, it's not making $1 billion." He's like, "Oh, it will. It's a Star Wars movie. It's gonna make $1 billion." And I was like, "No," and I knew, and I'm so happy that I proved him wrong because how much it made, it lost money, didn't it? It didn't make any profit.
Yeah, I think so.
It which I think's hilarious and shows Disney Lucasfilm what they should have already known, which is what they're doing a terrible job and trying to make these spin-offs that kind of, I don't know, at least, okay, maybe I shouldn't say it's the spin-offs that are the problem. I don't think the spin-offs are the problem necessarily. What they did specifically to Solo, and they did a similar thing to Rogue One, it just wasn't affected as badly, was that they fired the directors halfway through and reshot the whole movie.
Yeah.
Funny, the most annoying thing that pisses me off is about it, they had the directors of the Lego movie, who also had a huge hand in Spider-Verse, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They also did 2122 Jump Street. They were directing Han Solo, and they were kind of making it a lot of improv and comedy kind of thing, right? So, like March 2017-ish, or May, they were fired. And this, I think what I heard was that they were fired because it was like too funny, or they weren't taking it serious enough. 6 months or so later, Thor Ragnarok comes out, and it's this funny sci-fi, like improv, hilarious movie. And Kathleen Kennedy, head of Lucasfilm, says, "I'd love for Taika Waititi to do a Star Wars movie."
Yeah.
Which just pissed me off because, like, obviously once Thor came out, they knew that they made a mistake and that Solo would have done great if it was a more comedy with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and that just pissed me off because they reshot it, they tried to make it what they thought it should have been, and it had no appeal to anyone. And then Holmes and Watson, I saw a trailer for this, and my mum was like, "Oh, that looks kind of funny," and I was like, "That did not look funny at all. It looked horrendous.
Yeah.
It looked absolutely horrendous." And like, some people were saying like, "Oh, maybe it's gonna be like so bad that it's good," you know what I'm saying? But like, nah. Like, from what I've heard, it's not even that. It's just straight up.
I heard people were walking out.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked out of a movie?
I don't think I have. But usually it's because I go to a film I know I'm going to like.
Only time I've walked out, I'll say I've walked out, I was watching it at home. I stopped watching. The only time I ever stopped watching was Rango, the one with Johnny Depp, but he's like a lizard. Funny thing is, I watched this 2 times before when I was a kid, and I really loved this movie. And then I got it on iTunes because it was cheap. And this was when I was maybe 15 or 16 watching it. And I stopped it halfway through because I hated it. Possibly my only iTunes purchase that I regret. Yeah, terrible. But yeah, briefly, I know Tash has brought up in our little Discord chat Infinity War. How about that, right? And he's trying to infer that it's a piece of crap, but he's just joking. It's actually one of the best. It's actually my second favorite movie.
I'm on Tash's side.
You're on Tash's.
This.
Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Did you see all 15 movies or whatever that came before it?
All 15.
There were more than 15. There were 19 actually.
No,
there were 18 before.
We've had this argument before, though.
Okay, yeah, we've talked about it. We don't need to talk about this. I was just going to rattle off a few of my other best ones because did you have a best?
Yeah, I have a best.
What was your best?
Love, Simon.
Oh, true. Yeah. Did you have more bests? Give all your bests.
Love, Simon would be up there. As would. Star Wars Born. I thought was good.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was really good.
Do you know there's actually a New Zealand singer in that movie? I forgot his name, which is really embarrassing. I know. I should know that, but
I have a couple others, but my mind's blanking.
Right now. This is why you make your lists beforehand, Matt.
I'm very disorganized.
I can't believe that happened. I messaged you yesterday. I could have sworn you said you'd had the top 5 already. And then we'd get here to set up the microphones and everything. He's like, oh yeah, I don't have a top 5 yet.
It's all good.
Anyway, and then a couple of other favourites of the year. Infinity War, Bad Times at the El Royale, one of my favourites.
I still need to see that.
It's a good time. 8th Grade, Green Book. And I wanted to mention, this one's not a movie, this is an album, not the Wolfbeck one, which is still great, but it's an album called Vital by an artist called Morgan, but instead of an A in Morgan, it's an X. And I found out about it because Naked and Famous featured on one of the tracks on the album. And so I listened to the whole album, and then this was another one of those albums that I was just repeating on the bus all the time because I just loved it. It's just great. So I recommend it. I think you'll like it. It's kind of alternative.
Yeah.
Similar to Naked and Famous if you like them, I guess, but more mellow, maybe?
Yeah.
More poppy as well. I don't know how to describe it. I'm really bad at describing music.
I've noticed.
into like genres, because like putting music down to a genre is just often doesn't make sense because a lot of music can't be contained in one genre.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I guess you
things.
can make the same argument with film, though, in a certain...
Yes.
There's a lot of films nowadays are like crossover.
Yeah, to an extent.
I think it's weird. I think the weirdest term for for music, in terms of a genre, is pop. Like pop music, right? Because pop music can be basically anything. Because all pop music is popular music.
Yeah, well, I think that...
Like, describe pop.
Pop, I think the term...
You can't.
The term must come from popular, right? I assume.
Yeah.
But pop, I wouldn't say pop is necessarily means popular. It more means mainstream. Because, Foo Fighters is popular.
Yeah.
Amongst a lot of people. That doesn't make it pop. I think pop is, well, it sounds like pop, doesn't it? Pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
I feel like pop, it sounds like poppy, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, like, for me, the word pop to me has never meant popular. I'd never even realized that the term might come from there. I actually always thought pop was just a particular sound, which it is, which is that generic kind of upbeat.
Yeah.
That's what the pop is. Actually, we've got pop filters on there, on these mics, so it might not come through, but, pop.
Yeah.
I've said pop too many times. And
it's just losing all meaning right now.
Yeah. Maybe it relates to how, like, the artists are, like, or teenagers who listen to that music just, like, chew bubblegum all the time.
Maybe.
Or at least, I don't know.
There's bubblegum pop.
Right, okay.
Like, that's a genre
That's
a subgenre in itself.
Right. Does anyone even have bubblegum in it? I guess I've never been a fan of bubblegum. Or any gum.
I don't mind gum.
Because, like, the flavour goes away after 5 minutes, and then you're just chewing this.
Yeah, that's always the worst
part. And I get a
part
headache after it.
when it loses its flavour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, maybe that's something that I can find out later on, right? In terms of like something that I can do would be to go and find out what is pop music, you know what I mean? And trying to find music better.
Right.
What else do you want to do / going to do
In the future?
in the future?
Oh, in the near future,
in
yes.
the near
So, what I have coming up, I guess, this is the second half of the segment, which we normally do, which is our What You Doing segment, but we've kind of covered that in the top 5. So, yeah, there's another movie which I want to see, hopefully by the end of January, so I can have 8 movies in January. The Mule, with starring Clint Eastwood and directed by Clint Eastwood, I believe. Which is, I don't know much about the movie. I just saw the trailer for it and it looks great. So I'll go see that. Obviously, I'm going to continue watching The Office, and also 3 like different seasons of TV just came out or have started coming out. One of them being Good Place Season 3, which I've been keeping up with. Actually, it's like 5 now. Good Place Season 3, well, like the second half of it, has started back up again. Blacklist Season 6 has started up. And the Grand Tour Season 3 has started up.
Oh, yeah.
Series of Unfortunate Events Season 3 just came out on Netflix. And The Punisher Season 2 just came out on Netflix. So there's heaps for me to watch. And hopefully I'll watch some of that.
Nice.
And, yeah, I should try and watch less Office and watch these other things more. Because Office I can watch anytime, you know what I'm saying? So that's really all I've got to watch in the upcoming future.
In the upcoming future on my list, I think I mentioned it before, but I want to see Boy Erased, which is a film starring Lucas Hedges, who's a phenomenal actor. He's like 20 or 21 or something, already been nominated for Best Actor a couple of years back for Manchester by the Sea, which was a really good film.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so he was the teen in that. So yeah, it's a film about a kid who gets sent to gay conversion therapy. It's supposed to be a really good film, so that's on my list. I think that's coming out in cinemas in March.
Right.
And it's a film I want to see in cinemas, so I'm gonna hang out for that. Another one is If Beale Street Could Talk. I don't know when it's coming out in cinemas here, but it's Barry Jenkins' follow-up film from Moonlight.
Oh, yep. Follow-up is in sequel?
No,
just another movie?
Just next film. Sorry. Barry Jenkins loved his work with Moonlight, so really interested to see what he comes up with next, and I've heard good things about it.
Nice.
What else? Finishing watching... Well, lately I've been binge watching with my sister The Mentalist.
Oh, yeah?
We're back to Season 1, Episode 1.
Nice.
And we're halfway through Season 2.
Has she not watched it before? Is that why?
No, she's watched it before,
Right.
but we were like, hey, we've got some free time for once in our lives, so well, in her life, she's much more busy than I am. So we've been like slowly like watching like 3 a night usually.
That's
3 episodes
decent.
a night. Yeah. So that's been a really fun time. And I guess also probably I'll get back in the saddle in regards to watching the films that are currently on my list that I've also been reviewing as I've gone through as well. So that's all the stuff that I want to get up to.
Which then I guess leads us to the final section of the podcast, which is the crunchy comment section. And for I think the first time ever, we've had a comment on YouTube.
Oh wow! Exciting.
Or like this is the first crunchy comment that's not from Twitch, I think actually.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if you didn't know, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or wherever, we actually stream these live on Twitch. So if you want, you can listen to them when we're live. Currently, it's a Sunday night, so we're probably going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing every second week, hopefully, from now for Season 2 anyway. So follow us on Twitch and subscribe so you get that little notification when we go live. And yeah, you can join in on the Twitch chat and get your questions answered in that episode. And you also hear all the little stuff ups and things like that.
Usually my stuff ups.
Yeah.
It's usually me.
Pretty much always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty.
Love you, Ben.
But here we go. This comment is from Widamu Kingy. He says, Oh, this was from episode 12 where we talked about our favorite film directors.
Hey.
And he says, yes, Tarantino is my man. Of course, he
Hey.
was on both our lists.
Yeah, it was my number one. So
Yeah, he was probably like my number 3 or something like that.
something
Wasn't
like
he?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Woodamoo, who's a good friend of mine from Christchurch who now lives England somewhere.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I hope
Yeah.
you're still listening. If you're still listening, give us another comment.
Yo, people, you should comment below because otherwise it's a bit lonely, and we don't want to be lonely. So you should comment if you want us to be not lonely, and therefore the crunchy comment section works if people are commenting, right? Because then we actually have some stuff to say. Otherwise, it's kind of like, hey, this is the one comment that was there,
Yeah.
and then that's it. But if there's heaps, then we can rapid fire it, and we can do a cheeky lightning round, and everyone loves a lightning round.
And I have to say, it's especially more fun for us as well when you comment live on Twitch and we get to answer those live in that episode. So, like I said,
too.
join on Twitch. And also, like Matt mentioned earlier on in the podcast, we're also on Patreon. So you can comment there, and there are certain tiers which you can suggest content for us that you want us to do. If we don't even put up the polls because, well, we only have one member at the moment. He's only got the $1 tier. But I'm going to give you a shout out, Morgan, for still subscribing to us on Patreon for at least 2 months.
Yeah.
Probably 3 now.
Yeah, and
actually.
any money that, we should mention that any money that is pledged to us on Patreon is invested straight back into the company to either buy new equipment, so we can make better content, and also in the future
Pay off these microphones.
pay off these microphones that we got. Also in the future it may go towards other equipment so we can start making different type of content, so whether that be video or otherwise. Because we've got a lot of ideas and stuff. We just need the support to sort of help us get there.
Absolutely. And just like our really terrible intros, our outro has gone on for way too long also. So excuse that.
Yep.
But we need your support, please.
Yeah, we need your support, please.
I hope the mic picks up the whisper and it sounds crispy. I wasn't doing this one.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
That's the plan.
Hopefully we'll be back in 2 weeks. And again in better quality form.
Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you guys all very much for watching. I mean listening. I guess also watching. Oh well. Goodbye.